I am 108 years old. That number doesn't feel impressive to me anymore. It doesn't fill me with pride or satisfaction. It doesn't feel like an accomplishment worth celebrating. It feels heavy. It feels like having lived long enough to watch the same questions repeat in different generations, with different faces, different contexts, but always the same core confusion. People always ask the same thing, just with new words, new language, new packaging. How do I win? How do I get ahead? How do I beat everyone else? How do I succeed? How do I prove myself? How do I make it? How do I become happy? How do I find joy? How do I finally feel fulfilled? After 108 years of watching, of listening, of living through countless versions of these same questions, I can tell you this with absolute certainty. Most people make happiness complicated because they are afraid of how simple it really is. They create elaborate formulas. They build complex systems. They convince themselves it requires perfection, achievement, arrival. But the truth is much quieter, much more accessible, and that terrifies them. I wasn't born into comfort. I wasn't born with money or privilege or any kind of head start. I wasn't born with answers. I didn't come into this world knowing what mattered or what didn't. I wasn't born knowing what mattered. No one is. That's not how life works. I learned by losing, by watching things slip through my fingers, by realizing too late what I should have held on to, by waiting too long, by postponing the things that mattered while rushing toward things that didn't, by choosing wrong, by making mistakes that cost me years, by taking paths that led nowhere, by choosing right too late, by finally understanding what mattered when I had less time to do anything about it. And that's why I can finally say this honestly, without pretense, without trying to sound wise. Happiness is not a destination. It's not a place you arrive at after enough struggle. It's not an achievement. It's not something you earn by being good enough or working hard enough. It's not something you unlock once you prove you deserve it. There's no cosmic vending machine where you insert enough suffering and receive happiness in return. It is something much quieter, much less dramatic, much smaller. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. Much closer than you think. It's not in the future. It's not across the ocean. It's right here, in the ordinary moments you keep rushing past. But before I tell you what it is, I need to tell you what it isn't. Because most of your life, and I mean most of it, is being spent chasing the wrong things with the wrong maps, following the wrong directions, measuring yourself against the wrong standards. When I was young, barely more than a child really, I believed happiness lived in the future, in the after, always in the after. After I work harder, after I prove myself, after I earn my place, after I earn more, after the bills are paid, after I have security, after I fix myself, after I become better, after I eliminate all my flaws, after I become someone else, someone more worthy, someone more deserving. That belief stole decades from me, not days, not months, decades. I watched entire years pass while I was preparing to be happy instead of practicing it, while I was getting ready to live instead of actually living. People don't realize this, but you can spend your whole life getting ready to live and never actually do it. You can spend 50 years in the waiting room, rehearsing for a performance that never starts. At 108, I can tell you this clearly, without any doubt. Happiness does not come from adding more to your life, not more success, not more possessions, not more achievements. It comes from removing what never belonged there, the expectations that aren't yours, the fears that don't serve you, the comparisons that only diminish you. I have buried almost everyone I ever loved. Friends who once felt like they would live forever, who were young and strong and full of plans. Family, parents, siblings, eventually even some of my own children. That's what happens when you live to 108. People who once felt permanent, whose presence felt as reliable as the sunrise, who I couldn't imagine the world without. When you live this long, loss becomes familiar, not comfortable, never comfortable, but familiar, and something strange happens, something I didn't expect. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? You stop shaking your fist at the sky. You stop feeling singled out by grief. You start asking, what was I supposed to learn before they left? What truth were they here to teach me? What did their presence reveal? I don't remember the happiest days of my life as the biggest ones. Not my wedding day, though it was beautiful. Not the births of my children, though they were miracles. Not the awards or the recognitions or the moments that looked impressive from the outside. I remember the quiet ones, mornings without urgency, when I woke up without an alarm, without a schedule pressing down on me, without anywhere I had to be, conversations without performance, when I wasn't trying to impress or convince or prove anything, when I was just talking, just connecting, just being, moments where nothing needed to be proven, where I wasn't performing for anyone, where I could just exist as I was. That's when I understood the first truth about happiness, the one that changed everything. Happiness requires very little, far less than you think, far less than you've been told, but it demands honesty, complete, uncomfortable, no excuses honesty. Most people are unhappy not because their lives are terrible, but because they are living lives that don't belong to them. They are following expectations that were never theirs, scripts written by parents, by society, by people who aren't living their lives, chasing approval from people who don't know them, who don't understand them, who couldn't care for them even if they wanted to. Playing roles they never chose, the dutiful son, the perfect mother, the successful professional, roles that feel like costumes that don't fit, and the body always knows. The body is smarter than the mind. It refuses to lie. It shows up as anxiety, as a tightness in your chest that won't go away, as worry that follows you everywhere, as exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, as a tiredness that runs deeper than physical fatigue, as emptiness you can't explain, as a void that nothing seems to fill, no matter how much you acquire or achieve. Your body is not broken. It's not malfunctioning. It's not betraying you. It's honest. It's telling you the truth you're afraid to hear. Let me tell you about a woman named Clara. This story matters because it's not just her story. It's the story of millions. I met her when we were both in our 40s, both ambitious, both convinced we had time. She was impressive. Everyone thought so. She commanded rooms. She achieved things, respected. People looked up to her, asked her advice, wanted to be like her, always busy, always moving, always doing, never still. She did everything right, everything the world told her to do. She climbed higher and higher, more responsibility, more recognition. She achieved awards, promotions, everything that's supposed to prove you made it. She delayed rest, delayed pleasure, delayed living, always later, always after. She used to say, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, I'll slow down later, I'll enjoy it later. This is just temporary. Clara died at 63, not suddenly, not in a way that made the news or shocked anyone dramatically. Slowly, her body gave out. It refused to continue carrying the weight of a life unlived. What broke her wasn't illness, not really. It was postponement. It was all the later that never came. At her funeral, people talked about her success, about her achievements, about everything she accomplished, but no one talked about her joy. Because they never saw it, because it was never there. She had built an impressive life but had forgotten to live it. That was the moment I understood the second truth, the one that still makes me sad when I think about Clara. Happiness cannot be postponed. It's not like money in a bank. It doesn't accumulate. It expires. You don't save happiness for later the way you save money. It doesn't grow interest. It doesn't wait patiently. Later is not guaranteed. It's not promised. It's not owed to you. And even if it arrives, you may not recognize it because you forgot how to feel it. You spent so long not allowing yourself to be happy that when the opportunity comes, you don't know what to do with it. At 1:08, my days are simple, very, very simple. I wake up, some days easily, some days with difficulty, but I wake up. I sit in my chair by the window, where I can see the world continue without me. I breathe in and out, the simplest thing, the most miraculous thing. Some days, pain arrives before thought. My body reminds me it's old before my mind fully wakes. Some days, memory arrives before pain. I remember people, moments, things I thought I'd forgotten. But even now, even at 1:08, even with all the difficulty and limitation, I can tell when a day is good. A good day is not one without discomfort. Pain is constant at my age. That's not what determines quality. It's one without resistance. When I stop fighting what is, when I accept the day as it comes, I stopped fighting reality a long time ago, stopped arguing with what I cannot change, stopped wishing I was different or circumstances were different. That's the third truth, and it's the one most people resist the most. Happiness is acceptance, not excitement. Most people are addicted to intensity. They need the high, the rush, the drama. They confuse stimulation with aliveness. They think if they're not feeling intensely, they're not feeling at all. But intensity burns out. It can't sustain. It exhausts. It depletes. Acceptance sustains. It's renewable. It doesn't require constant fuel. When you stop arguing with what is, life becomes lighter, not easier. I'm not promising that. Pain doesn't disappear. Difficulty doesn't vanish. Just lighter, less heavy, less burdensome, more breathable. People think happiness is loud. They think it announces itself. They think it shouts. It isn't. It doesn't. It's quiet enough that you miss it if you're always rushing, if you're always moving to the next thing. It's present when you stop checking, when you stop measuring, when you stop comparing. It shows up when you stop chasing, when you stop running after it. When you finally stand still. At 108, I no longer ask life for meaning. I stopped asking the universe to explain itself. I give meaning to what arrives. A meal becomes sacred if I treat it that way. A conversation becomes meaningful if I'm fully present for it. Silence becomes rich if I stop being afraid of it. I no longer need my life to look impressive. I don't need anyone to be amazed by how I lived. I need it to feel honest, true, mine. And here is the final truth, the one people resist the most, the one that sounds wrong until you understand it. Happiness is not about feeling good. It's not about constant pleasure or endless positivity. It's about being at peace with feeling bad when it comes. Pain will visit you, guaranteed. No one escapes this. Loss will visit you. People you love will leave. Things you cherish will end. Fear will visit you. Uncertainty will knock on your door. Doubt will arrive uninvited. Happiness is knowing they don't get to stay forever, that they pass, that you survive them. I have lived through wars, 2 of them. I saw what humans do to each other when they're afraid, through crises, economic collapse, personal disasters, times when I didn't think I'd make it, through personal disasters, deaths that felt like they would destroy me, losses that seemed impossible to survive, and the happiest people I knew were not the luckiest ones. They weren't spared pain or difficulty. They were the most present ones. They were here now, fully. They did not wait for perfect conditions. They didn't postpone living until circumstances improved. They did not demand certainty. They didn't need guarantees before they allowed themselves to feel alive. They lived where they were, with what they had, as they were. At 108, I don't have dreams left. The future is too short for dreams. I have memories, and they're enough. They're more than enough. And the best ones, the ones I return to again and again, all have something in common. I wasn't trying to be happy when they happened. I wasn't performing happiness or pursuing it. I was just there, present, alive, nothing more. If I could leave you with one sentence, one thing you remember when everything else fades, it would be this. Happiness is not something you achieve. It's not a trophy. It's not a destination. It's something you stop blocking. You block it with comparison, with measuring yourself against others, with never being enough, with expectation, with demanding life be different than it is, with refusing what's real, with fear of being ordinary, with needing to be special, with believing ordinary isn't enough. But ordinary moments are where happiness lives. The morning coffee, the conversation with a friend, the sunset you almost missed because you were on your phone. I am 108 years old. My body is slow. It takes me 10 minutes to cross a room that used to take 10 seconds. My time is short. I know this. I'm not pretending otherwise. But my mind is clear. Clearer now than it's been in decades. Happiness was never far away. It was never hiding. It was never out of reach. It was waiting for me to stop running past it, to stop treating the present like an obstacle to the future. Now you know. Don't make it harder than it is. Don't complicate what's simple. Live honestly. Live without pretending. Live as yourself. Live simply. Live with less noise. Live with more presence. That's it. That's everything.